Hello everyone, so the show and tell happened yesterday, there was a lot to cover, and now we're going to start looking at the dissecting of the specific parts, because we do need to talk about quite a lot. First things first, the audio from Creative Assembly was a bit weird. I guess they're still kind of getting used to that new room that they had designed. And this time, for the Siege rework stuff, we're going to focus solely on that, because I think it's quite important to talk about. It's Josh, so the influencer manager, Rich, which I believe he's got a director title, and then Sean. Sean worked on stuff like Thrones of Decay, so it's good to see both of them again. I think they're both well-known names. So, Siege rework is a very big topic here, because obviously it's turned into a bit of an odd thing, right? In fact, I covered expectations before the stream with my own video with the best and worst case scenarios. Keep in mind that we had a beta literally almost a year ago, and it doesn't look like a lot is coming for it. In fact, it does feel like not a lot has gone into the Siege rework, and I can't be wrong here. Obviously, there might be some other changes. So let's talk about it. We're going to go through the clips specifically around the Siege rework, stop where appropriate, and go from there.
So the long-awaited Siege update, we've spoken about a lot, but nice to finally put an update number on it, so 9.1.
Yes.
So this will come the patch after, or the end times, the campaign update coming the patch after Bathsheba.
That's right.
So on screen I've just got some ladders, thrown some Siege ladders up there from Tabletop.
It's great bringing those back. I mean, well, I say bringing them back. It's kind of new for Warhammer. To me, it feels like bringing them back because I've experienced them in past Total War games that I've worked on. So they're going to be joining the fray for players to make use of.
Yeah.
Removing pocket ladders as the default setting, because we know they're not for everybody.
Yeah.
But the people that do like them, there's still going to be an option setting, so you can still have them in the game. So really down to you, what your preference is and how you want to make use of sieging with ladders.
So the first thing for the Siege rework is them showing the pocket ladders. This is something that we've already experimented with. If you played the beta last year in August, yes, that means that you've already used them just without their unique textures, as they used a dummy one from Vero just for people to be able to see if they like the system or not. No renders of them in game, just artwork, which makes me believe that nothing has really been done and it's just a lot of art that's been done at the moment, probably going under, Games Workshop approval, because that stuff still needs to happen. But starting off the Siege rework with just going, oh yeah, pocket ladders from the beta isn't really the best case scenario, right? The artwork looks great, but there's a lot more that needs to be done for sieges, barring just pocket ladders, pathfinding, and the rest. And not a lot of that is spoken about here, which doesn't bring me great joy. Especially since we know that this is after the end times, and we do need to talk about its potential release. Creative Assembly have stated that they want the end times out during summer, right? Which is usually July, August, September. We still don't know anything about Bathsheba just yet, so I imagine that it's likely going to be a while. This is the thing. They said April for news, and then it was the end of April, and that's usually the case for Creative Assembly. If it's the same case, which, yeah, you can make that assumption, then more than likely it's going to be end of September for the End Times DLC. If nothing's gotten delayed. And, we've still only had 2 reveals, and it hasn't been full reveals. Keep that in mind, not full rosters, not full details. That takes a while. So I could theoretically see End Times being pushed up to December again. I'm not trying to say this to start an argument, but that does mean that very likely 9.1, the Siege rework, would be next year. If it hasn't been delayed, it could be in December. But yeah, that will be over a year and a bit since the original beta. And the reason why this discussion needs to be had is because they've said that they want to try out a bunch of stuff, but then they're not sure if it will work or not. Let's continue. And yes, I am just cutting bits off from their stream when it's just them faffing about a little bit or just repeating, because it's just, if not, we're going to be here for hours.
Fantastic. Sorry, I'm so easily distracted. Are there any other changes since the beta that people should be aware of?
There's a whole host of stuff going in, and like me and Sean were saying earlier, we've been spending the time really looking at what the fantasy we want to have for siege battles in the Warhammer setting.
Yeah.
Got 10 years worth of content now, so there's all sorts of things that we'd love to play around with, and the betas obviously helped us look at some of that, and we've got some other ideas of our own.
The problem here is none of those ideas that apparently they have hasn't been talked about too much. They talk about some other stuff, but it's stuff that we've seen in the beta. It's stuff that we've seen already live in patches when stuff has gotten changed. So this is where I'm like, okay, what is actually coming? There is no context here. It's a bit of a shame because, say, for example, Rome 2 had a massive reveal. So did Med 3, 40k. We got a lot of really cool information for the end times. But the Siege rework got a little bit quiet here. And I would argue, I know some people are going to say, well, end times is more important. But no, I'd argue that the Siege rework, something that has been an ongoing issue for the past 10 years, is the most important talking point.
But we've been specifically focusing on gate improvements, like the damage dealt to them, making it feel like a solid thing to defend. Looking at towers and the damage output. We've been looking at things like siege attacker trait, which characters, creatures should have that, making sure that hordes are well supported. Loads of bits and bobs.
So again, that's stuff from the beta. The siege trait stuff, which I don't know, I'm still kind of against. And then tower stuff and wall stuff, gate stuff, hell, some of that stuff already made it live. You see what the problem is? Like, a lot of the stuff spoken about here is literally stuff that we've already played with. We need to hear about new changes, because that's kind of important. With all due respect to the Creative Assembly, the beta, that's it, not enough. Not for the sieges, right? Not at all. Quick break here, a little bit of self-promo. I recently started a tabletop channel called Grudgehammer, which the link can be found in the description below. And I'm just doing painting tutorials, kit bashes. I had to take a week off because I was ill last week, but I'm doing 2 videos a week in general. This is the one that just came out today, by the way, which is an hour to paint up a Hell Pit Abomination. Not build, because the build took a lot longer, but just for the painting. So check it out if you're interested. It would be cool to see you guys there. I'm going to be doing a lot more tabletop-oriented stuff. And I just kind of want to talk more about the hobby too.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that may not make it as well, because it's, cutting room floor style of, we are trying things out. We want to try and push the boat out. I think we've said this before when we tried to do our larger reworks. Trying to make something that's objectively better for everyone is a bar that is hard to cross every time, and that's why it can take a bit more time to make sure that we go above that. There's lots of things that we're looking at as well that may not make it in. I don't know whether to talk about some of them, but
I totally understand the whole thing of there's a lot of stuff that may not make it in. It's something that is expected from game dev, sometimes ideas just can't happen. My question and my problem here, I guess, is focusing around the fact of, well, it's been almost a year. There must be stuff that's concrete now, right? And not only that, but sieges have been ass since Warhammer 1. Warhammer 2, they were a little bit better. Warhammer 3, they were bad at launch, and they've been changing around ever since. But the big question there is, with this constant, it's been bad, surely by now there must be few ideas that are locked in, right? The siege ladders can't be the only thing. Neither can just updating walls and gates. That's not enough.
We've spoke about, can ethereal units go through walls? Is that something that we can support? And even just opening that question needs to go, well, if we want to do that, what's the technical cost of that? The way our walls are built was never built with that in mind.
No.
So it's a technical update. It's what would the implications of that be? What happens if an ethereal unit dies inside a wall? What does that actually do to the game? All those things need to be thought all the way through, and then we make the decision of, do we go ahead with this and actually commit to it and resolve those issues? Is it worth doing? Because the fantasy of it would be incredible, but then there's the experience, and that's that objective better experience bar that we have to cross of fantasy sounds great. If it doesn't help the game, though, should we invest in this? Is it going to cause more problems? So we're doing lots of stuff, trying lots of stuff, and hopefully, it all comes together at the most perfect, exciting version we can get.
Okay, so the ethereal stuff, that's really only going to help factions with ethereal units. So a lot of the vampire counts, because obviously, hex wraiths and the rest. Ethereal units dying inside of walls shouldn't really be much of an issue because, well, ethereal units are ghosts, meaning that they should completely despawn. Fun fact, hex wraiths, while the main rider will despawn, sometimes the horse won't, and it will just retreat as if it was not an undead creature. which is really odd. I saw that happen in a stream recently where I was fighting a vampire faction and just, yeah, they started running away. They're supposed to crumble. But that feature would be very cool and lore appropriate. It's been asked for many years. You can go, well, we don't really have the old forum anymore, but people were asking it from there. You'd think stuff like that would have already been kind of looked at, right? Feels like they're just starting to look at that now as a possibility. And it just kind of worries me with the whole, there's not really a lot that's been spoken about just yet. They mentioned the expectations for reworks and stuff, but in most cases, a lot of reworks they'd have been knocking out of the park. The Kislev one is the perfect example. The problem right now is just there's not a lot of conversation happening around these very core issues that have seemed to be ignored until now, and even then, they're not really being talked about too much.
Yeah, but there should be a nice grouping of content there for 9.1, and then yeah, you know, like all things in the game,
See where it goes from there.
we always want to try and amend and improve.
Okay, so like my theory, it's going to be multiple patches for it, but again, it's like, oh, it's a nice grouping of content. What exactly is the content? Is it just going to be the beta stuff? If that's the question, and if that's the case, then why did it take so long for the beta to come out? If it's just the artwork and renderings for the siege ladders, why did what essentially is a template take so long, right? I'm trying to understand why the siege rework has taken so long if it's basically going to be the beta. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just kind of odd that nothing has been said. I did see some comments yesterday of people going, well, yeah, the whole stream was a whole nothing burger. But the thing is, a lot of good context came out. We have some expectations now for Grand Cafe as a whole for an update during Bashiva. We have a lot more information regarding Bashiva and how she works. The end time stuff reveal was quite cool. I'm pretty hyped up about, finally Boris getting his day. And we'll have a proper conversation on Boris very soon. But this specific part for Warhammer 3's reveal just felt really, really flat. Almost like they had no choice but to talk about something, but without talking about it. What Warhammer 3 really needs in regards to just this is what happened with the Rome 2 reveal. A breakdown of, look, we're going to separate it into 4, 5 patches, whatever is needed, and this is our rough outline. Not going into too many specifics, because at the end of the day, things can change, but saying, okay, look, patch 1 is going to focus on getting the beta out there and making sure that it works alongside changes to walls, changes to gates, blah, blah, blah. Patch 2, this, and this. Patch 3, this, and this. And that way we have more of a realistic standard of what to expect. Because right now we can just think, oh yeah, it's going to be this and that's it. And I really hope that's not going to be the only thing coming for Sieges. There's a lack of maps for races. There's a lack of functionality. Pathfinding is still off. That stuff needs to be talked about. It's important to keep the conversation going, or else Creative Assembly will say, oh yeah, that's it, nobody's complaining, we're done, right? So keep posting on the forums, keep posting on the Reddit and everywhere else, and just make sure that the conversation regarding all the issues with the sieges is being talked about. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a bit of discussion. I've got a few other breakdowns that are going to come out within the coming days. This one's the first one because, yeah, I'm just a little confused about the sieges. So, yeah, have a great day, everyone. I'll see you all again very, very soon.